On the Heavens. A reading from Book 2, Chapter 6 of the Exact Exposition of the Orthodox Faith by St. John of Damascus. The heavens are the outer shell which contains both visible and invisible created things. For, enclosed and contained within them are the spiritual powers, which are the angels and all sensible things. Only the divinity is uncircumscribed, filling, containing and surrounding all things, because he transcends all things, and it is he who has created all. Now, since Scripture speaks of heaven, the heaven of heaven, and the heavens of heavens, and says that the blessed Paul was caught up to the third heaven, we say that in the creation of the universe we consider as heavens that which the pagan philosophers, making the teachings of Moses their own, call a starless sphere. And again, God called heaven the firmament, which he ordered to be made in the midst of the water, and so arranged that it was separated from the midst of the water above the firmament, and from the midst of that which is below the firmament. Instructed by sacred Scripture, the divine Basil says that its substance is subtle, like smoke, as it were. Others say that it is watery, because it was made in the midst of the waters, and others say that it was made from the four elements. Still others say that it is a fifth body and distinct from the four elements. Furthermore, some have surmised that the heavens surround the universe and have the form of a sphere which is everywhere the highest point, while the center of the space enclosed by it is the lowest point, and that the airier and lighter bodies have been assigned by the Creator to the higher positions, while the heavy and unbuoyant have been consigned to the lower, which is the center. Now, the lightest and the most buoyant of the elements is fire, so they say that it comes directly below the heavens. They call it ether. Just below the ether comes the air. Earth and water, since they are heavier and less buoyant, are said to be hung in the midmost position, so that by contrast they are below. The water, however, is lighter than earth, whence its greater mobility. Everywhere above this, like a blanket, lies the encircling air. Everywhere around the air is the ether, and on the outside encircling them all are the heavens. Furthermore, they say that the heavens revolve and that they so bind together the things contained within, that they stay firmly together and do not fall apart. They say that the heavens have 7 spheres, one above the other. They further say that the substance of the heavens are very subtle, like smoke, and that in each one of the spheres is one of the planets. For they have said that there are 7 planets: the Sun, the Moon, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and Saturn. Venus, they say, is sometimes the morning star and sometimes the evening star. They call them planets, or wanderers, because their motion is contrariwise to that of the heavens. For while the heavens and the rest of the stars move from east to west, these alone have their motion from west to east. This we may know from the example of the moon, which moves back a little every evening. Now, those who held that the heavens were spherical say that they are removed from the earth by an equal distance above, on the sides, and below. By below and on the sides, I mean insofar as is apparent to our senses, because it logically follows that the heavens occupy the highest positions at all points, and the earth the lowest. They also say that the heavens surround the earth like a sphere, and by their very rapid movement carry the sun, moon, and stars around with them. And they say that, when the sun is over the earth, then it is day here, while when it is under the earth, it is night. But when the sun goes down under the earth, then it is night here, and day there. Others, however, have imagined the heavens to have the form of a hemisphere, because the inspired David says, "Who stretchest out the heaven like a pavilion," which means a tent, and the blessed Isaiah, "He that establisheth the heavens like a vault," and because the sun, the moon, and the stars, when they set, go round the earth from west to north, and thence return again to the east. However, whichever it may be, all things have been made and established by the command of God, and have their foundation in the divine will and desire. For he spoke, and they were made. He commanded, and they were created. He hath established them forever, and for ages of ages. he hath made a decree, and it shall not pass away. So, there is a heaven of heaven, which is the first heaven and is above the firmament. But now, because God also called the firmament heaven, there are two heavens. However, it is customary for sacred scripture to call the air heaven too, because of its being seen above, as it says, O all ye fowls of the heaven, bless the Lord, meaning the air, although the air is not heaven, but a medium of passage for the fowls. Here we have the three heavens of which the divine apostle spoke. Then, if you want to take the seven spheres as seven heavens, there will still be nothing contrary to the word of truth. It is also customary in the Hebrew tongue to speak of heaven in the plural as heavens. So when Scripture meant to say heaven of heaven, it said heavens of heavens, which would mean precisely heaven of heaven, that which is over the firmament and the waters which are above the heavens, whether over the air and the firmament or over the seven spheres of the firmament, or over the firmament expressed in the plural as heavens, according to the Hebraic usage. Now, all things which have a beginning are subject to corruption as a logical consequence of their nature, and the heavens are no exception. It is by the grace of God that they are held together and sustained. Only the divinity is by nature without beginning and without end. For this reason was it said that, They shall perish, but thou remainest. However, the heavens will not entirely disappear. For they shall perish, and they shall be changed as a vesture, and there will be a new heaven and a new earth. In size, the heavens are much greater than the earth. Nevertheless, one must not inquire into the substance of the heavens, because we can know nothing about it. Furthermore, let no one maintain that the heavens or the heavenly bodies are animate, for they are inanimate and without feeling. So, even though sacred scripture says, Let the heavens rejoice and let the earth be glad, it is really calling upon the angels in heaven and the men on earth to rejoice. Of course, Scripture can personify inanimate things and talk about them as if they were alive. As, for example, the sea saw and fled, Jordan was turned back. And, What ailed thee, O thou sea, that thou didst flee, and thou, O Jordan, that thou wast turned back? And again, mountains and hills are asked the reason for their skipping. In just the same way, it is customary for us to say that the city was gathered together, not intending to mean the houses, but the occupants of the houses. Still again, the heavens show forth the glory of God, not by speaking in voice audible to sensible ears, but by manifesting to us through their own greatness the power of the Creator, and when we remark their beauty, we give glory to their Maker as the best of all artificers.